Hi, today we're going to be talking about strategies for division. And as always, we're going to start with our math message. A box holds 6 chocolate candies. How many boxes are needed to hold 134 chocolate candies? So, what kind of problem is this? It is division. So what we want to think about is how many 6's are in 34. 134 is kind of a big number, isn't it? We probably don't know how many 6's are in 134 off the top of our heads. But this is how we would write the problem, 134 divided by 6. Or we could write it like this. And so notice the bracket on the screen there. The inside number is what you say first when you see a problem that looks like that. And so we would say that 134 divided by 6, just like we said the one above. And sometimes you will see it written like this. And sometimes you'll see it written as a fraction. And it basically means the same thing. We are dividing. So, what are some strategies that we can use? Well, we could use our multiplication and division diagram that we used in the last lesson. We could get out 134 cubes and divide them into groups of 6. We could draw a picture. Or we could break 134 into smaller numbers. What do I mean by smaller, you might be wondering? Well, we could use multiples of 10. So let me show you how that's going to work. Are there at least 10 6's in 134? Yes, because 10 times 6 is 60. Are there 20 6's in 134? Yes, because 20 times 6 equals 120. What about 30 6's? No, because 30 times 6 equals 180, and that's a bit too big. So, 20 6's equals 120, and 30 6's equals 180. So the closest, with 14 short, would be 20 6's. That gives us 120. But we have a problem, right? We haven't gotten to that 134 yet. So 2 more boxes, because remember, one box holds 6. So 2 boxes would hold 12 of those 14. And then we would have 2 chocolates left. So 134 divided by 6 is equal to 22 remainder 2, or if we wrote it like that, we would have the same answer, just written a little bit differently. So our answer is called the quotient. And what we have left over, those 2 remaining that we had, that is called a remainder. So if you want to write that in your vocabulary, you can do that. So let's start practicing some division problems. We have this one here. The school used 336 bottles of water. How many 8-packs is that? So we need a strategy. We're going to use multiples of 10, but with this problem, we're going to write it out first. So, of course, it's going to be 336 divided by 8 equals P. And I am going to start this problem showing you, how many 8's one would be first, which gives me 8. 2 8's would be 16. 3 8's would be 24. 4 8's 32. And 5 8's 40. Now we could start our problem like that and continue on going 6/8 and 7/8 and so on, but if you know your basic facts, you should be able to come back to what you have left, and hopefully that will make sense here in a second. So I'm going to jump over to the tens, multiples of tens. So if I do 10/8, that gives me 80. 20/8 gives me 160. 30/8 gives me 240. 40/8 gives me 320. And 50/8 gives me 400. Now notice I've got a red circle around the 40/8. And the reason I put that red circle there is because that is the closest that I came to my 336. But I didn't quite get there, did I? So if I have 320 and I subtract that from 336, I have roughly 16 left over. If I look over to the left side, I notice that 2/8 is 16. So I'm going to circle that one. And so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 40 and the 2 and I'm going to add those together, and that actually becomes my quotient. So 336 divided by 8 equals 42. So basically I took that 336 and we made it in smaller numbers that we could actually work with, because multiplying by multiples of 10 is a lot easier than trying to figure out how many 8s 336 is. So that's just one of the strategies that we're going to use in this lesson today to divide with larger numbers. So let's look at another problem. If we have this one here, it says each table seats 4 people. How many tables are needed to seat 195 people? So basically my division problem would be 195 divided by 4 equals T, because we're trying to figure out how many tables. And I'm just going to start with my multiples of 10 to start us off today, because I know my 4s facts. 10 fours is going to give me 40. Kind of jumped a couple there, but 24s will give me 80. 34s will give me 120. 44s gives me 160. I'm getting closer. 54s gives me 200. That one is too high. So I've got one that's too low and one that's too high, but we cannot take the one that's too high. We always have to go with the one that is closest to the number but does not go over. So I'm going to circle the 40, and if I take 195 from my original division problem and subtract the 160, I have 35 left, as you see there. And I know that 4 times 8 is 32, which is close to 35, but doesn't go over. So I'm going to take my 40 and my 8, and I'm going to add those together, which gives me, of course, 48. And then, as you see here, I have 195 divided by 4 equals 48, and I have a remainder of 3, because there would be 3 left over. But if you will recall, our original question asked us how many tables are needed. So for this problem, you have to be really careful, and you might have some problems similar to this, where if you have a remainder, that means that I have 3 people standing around, that remainder of 3. I have 3 people standing around that need a table. So we would have to make it 49 tables so we had enough to seat everyone, even though, you know, there would be 1 spot open at that table. So let's summarize what we've talked about today. We learned that we can use multiples of 10 to assist in dividing large numbers. We learned a number left over is a remainder. And we also learned that the answer to a division problem is called the quotient. Okay? If you have questions, as always, please write them down, bring them to class, and I will be more than happy to help you. Thanks for watching.